The Cut is brought to you by Flow.
Make a move now, make a move now.
Hi everyone, my name is Clarendon.
Greetings from Kelly's Kelly Yoga.
Hey, it's Robin Morrison, and I am your National Physical Activity Specialist. And it's time to make a move.
Jamaica, let's get moving again. Season 2 of the Ministry of Health and Wellness Jamaica Move series is here. Join us Wednesdays at 5 a.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on CVM TV. Let's get moving.
Make a move now.
Find Central Pitside, brought to you by Edgechem, AIM Financial Corporation, Texaco, and Connex.
Small business owners and independent contractors get affordable insurance with Sagicor Pro Shield. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
Coming up in news at 7, 13-year-old drowns in Riamina, Clarendon. Flare-up of student violence disturbs education minister. And homelessness on the rise, searching for a solution. We also have our Sunday premiere of Inspire Jamaica. While in sports, Reggae Boys aim to dominate Honduras in the CONCACAF Nations League on Monday. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is News at 7, the weekend edition. It's Sunday, October 13, 2024. I am Rohan Daly. And we start today on a somber note. A 13-year-old boy has drowned in the Riamina, Clarendon. The young man, who is a resident of the area and attended a school in St. Catherine, was found floating in the river at about 11:30 this morning. Adrian Williams informs us on the tragic event.
Tragedy struck on Saturday for what should have been a trip to the river for leisure. The Riamino in 7th Estate, Clarendon, was the scene of the drowning of a 13-year-old boy who decided to test the murky waters of the river with his friends. One resident had a short encounter with the 6 youngsters just before they went down to the river.
And when he stopped, no one public and round yes, I said, him turn left, I turn right, I don't know. It's right and turn. And when I realized, the friend when me yes well boy, one come up. No, the rest them come up. And that one, look, don't come up. Don't come up.
Bailey explains that the river's color change is suggestive of danger.
No, daddy, and yet today when me see them, and them yell, right now you go down there and say this day, it's red, and naturally boy I want somebody to carry down so with me.
Sorry if I say.
How you mean?
Whether fact or fiction, Deputy Superintendent of Police, Territorial Officer for the Clarendon Division, Owen Brown, says this has not been the first incident in the area and is pleading with parents to caution and supervise their children about venturing around or into rivers.
We've had situations like these in the parish, and we want to ask parents to be very careful, warn their sons in particular to stay away from rivers. They are not able to judge the status of the water, how deep it is. So we're asking them to assist the children to stay away unless there is someone responsible who is there to help to guide them in the process.
Adrian Williams for CVM News.
Ahead of a new school week, the Ministry of Education and Youth expressed deep concern at disturbing incidents involving students during the week prior. 3 altercations involving pupils, including a 16-year-old Porus High School student who was hospitalized after being stabbed by a pair, has prompted a call for calm and greater vigilance from Minister of Education and Youth, Favour Williams.
2 incidents of violence among students involving knives have come to my attention. Needless to say, these acts of violence among our students are unacceptable and deeply concerning. know that our schools do school bag searches to prevent knives, guns, and other harmful weapons from entering the school compound. We ask our principals and the safety and security teams to increase the vigilance, broaden the scope of the searches, including unannounced school bag searches during school hours. We also know that many of our students struggle to manage strong emotions like anger or frustration due to undeveloped emotional regulation skills and therefore may resort to aggression. So students, I implore you to access any or all of the support available at your schools.
The Falmouth police are currently searching for a cotton candy vendor who allegedly slashed 2 male Holland High School students with a knife following an altercation. The vendor fled the scene before the police arrived. Minister Williams also reacted to a disturbing video circulating online showing a male student being assaulted by police officers at a bus stop on Constance Spring Road in Kingston. She reminded students on how to comport themselves when interacting with law enforcement.
I saw a social media video of an altercation between law enforcement and a student. I'm also deeply concerned. I call on our students that in dealing with our law enforcement personnel to comply with lawful orders promptly and do not resist or argue on the scene. This will minimize misunderstandings and reduce the potential for escalation. If you feel your rights are violated, again, do not argue on the scene. Instead, document what happened immediately after and seek legal counsel to address it formally.
Jamaica's homeless population is growing. That's according to the latest data from Minister of Local Government, Desmond McKenzie, who says the reason behind the increase is numbers are as a result of a variety of factors.
We are seeing more men living on our streets. We notice that there are a number of persons who have been deported from whether Britain or the United States or wherever, who have no real connection with Jamaica. The parents might have been born here, but they have no family roots here. And many of them come back and they live on the streets.
The minister says that since 2016, the GOJ has spent in excess of $500 million in building out places of refuge to accommodate those who have found themselves without a home. However, despite the expenditure, it is proving difficult to keep pace with the growing demand, and as a result is advocating legislative reform to hold family members accountable.
Since 2016, because since 2016, this administration has spent more than $500 million on facilities across the country for the homeless population. The government can build as much shelters as we want. That alone can't solve the problem. In the survey that we did, we discovered that a vast number of the homeless people have families. They come from stable homes. But there is family dispute. And these family disputes has resulted in some of them being turned out of the home. And we are going to be taking steps to bring to books those persons who abandon their families. The time has come when we must have a change of heart. And it cannot be the responsibility of government alone.
The Negril post office was closed due to deteriorating building conditions. However, amidst pleas from residents, the agency says progress is being made to locate an ideal alternative to facilitate the return of this still vital facility. As we hear from Trisha Gay Kelly, some individuals are of a different belief.
For residents in Negril, Westmoreland, it's been a chaotic few weeks after being forced to visit Little London to collect their mail. The town's post office was closed due to deteriorating conditions. However, the distance to collect the mail has been labelled a stretch. It's even worse for those without access to technology. Negril resident and businessman Richard Wallace explains it's not just about the distance. It's the overall inconvenience it has caused everyone in the area.
Even though in the new age of technology and all of that, but there are still many persons that use the post office. A lot of pensioners collect their government benefits through the post office. There are still tourists that like to mail postcards. There are tourists that send packages to residents as well, whom they have befriended.
For others, it's a tragedy in the busy tourist town. President of the Negril Chamber of Commerce, Elaine Allen Bradley, had higher expectations of the agency. She says she's displeased with how the situation is being handled.
We have a lot of path individuals that go to the post office, depend on the post office. Negril is a major tourist resort and we have no post office, and I think they should be ashamed. Postmaster General should be ashamed.
She adds plans are underway to relocate the post office. However, she's unaware how long this will take.
They've contacted me and they are coming down on Tuesday to look at some spaces where they can bring the post office back to Negril. We don't know how substantial that's going to be or how effective or when.
Though she has been reassured that things are moving forward, Allen Bradley is not confident in this approach. She is pleading with the Postmaster General to make any available spot suitable. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
Top performing students for the last PEP examinations in St. Thomas received tablets for their achievement. The Universal Service Fund, the USF, led the charge in keeping the mission to bridge the information gap. Adrian Williams tells us more.
A key component of bridging the information gap is enabling access to the use of electronic devices such as tablets. The Universal Service Fund, the USF, has been mandated to ensure access to information and communication technology tools to facilitate development, and St. Thomas has now reaped its benefit.
It is a privilege to stand before you today as we mark a significant milestone. The handover of tablets through our Connect to Child program to these high-achieving students participating in the primary exit program, PEP, in the parish of St. Thomas.
Member of Parliament for Eastern St. Thomas, Dr. Michelle Charles, encourages the move and urges the students to use them wisely.
I would like to encourage you to be kind as you use the digital platforms. How many of you know about cyberbullying? Raise your hand. Well, try not to be a cyberbully. Be kind while you use the internet. Post and share positive things.
The MP highlighted that the digital environment has evolved from where it was decades ago.
The digital world offers endless learning resources, global connections, creative expressions, and innovations as well.
But just how is this fund generated? The fund, which was established in 2005 under a ministerial order, mandated that all domestic telecommunications providers collect a universal service levy on all inbound telephone calls. It is these funds that are used to cover the costs for a range of national ICT projects, with the aim of helping Jamaicans in all constituencies to have better access to information. The fund falls under the responsibility of the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, led by Darrell Vaz. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
More news on the other side of this break.
Jamaica, get ready! Saturday, October 26th, live on the lawns of Huey Mona. It's Boys to Men. Singing your favorite hits. Also performing live, Tess and Chin and Lila Ike. Get your tickets now at caribtix.com, Kingston, Jer, and Fontana. Saturday, October 26, 2024. It's Boys to Men, live on the lawns of Uimona. Starts at 8 p.m. Sponsored by Supreme Ventures, Mayberry, Main Event, Island Grill, and Courtly Hospitality Group.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
I'm a gift for you and the crew. Mobile, next week Saturday. Where you say?
Got talk to grabs it down the lane. No, I hear nothing about that brother there, you know. And tell me some have a big show line up for it.
Look up on the stage, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's the innocent.
But we are idiots to allow grabs it to be treating us like idiots. Under no circumstances could that be my pay. We as a group, we have to stick together. A group of idiots. We don't even have fear to go home. My girl, you see the youth them when they sit down here, sir?
With continued increase in the use of non-traditional smoking practices, namely e-cigarettes, vapes, and hookahs, the Ministry of Health is looking to enforce policies and ramp up regulations to prevent the youth from such habits. Adrian Williams ventilates the matter with the Principal Director of Prevention Public Education Treatment Branch at the National Council on Drug Abuse.
At the recent PAHO conference last week in Washington, D.C., concerns are being raised about non-traditional smoking practices such as the use of e-cigarettes, vapes, and hookahs among young people. Principal Director of the Prevention, Public Education and Treatment Branch at the National Council on Drug Abuse, a department in the Ministry of Health, Colette Curlew, has concern not only with the practice, but the access minors have to the devices.
What would help is if the community would start protecting our children and the parents as well, and not send them to the shop to get those items, whether it be cigarettes or alcohol or any products that they should not be in contact with at all. So that's something that I would raise an alarm about, because the sale to minor should not happen at all from the retailer's perspective.
So will there be a ban on these products?
The ban is there for children. No substances should be sold to children at all. So the ban is there. So enforcement of same is something that we need to make sure it happens. What we are doing is to have prevention work in communities and schools. So we're empowering children to make better life decisions so they can say no to these products when it is being offered to them.
The director says prevention is the focus. However, she's calling for all hands on deck within the communities and homes, including artists who glorify the use of the smoking practices.
So we know we have the artists or the influencers promoting the use of these substances. So if that could be restricted, that would also help the process with it. But prevention is what we're focusing on. We know we'll have our own communication experts in-house, and so you'll see more messages coming out from the National Council on Drug Abuse.
As a new tobacco control bill is being discussed, enforcement of what already exists remains at the forefront of the solutions proposed to what may be deemed the puffs of problems. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
The Lupus Foundation of Jamaica, LFJ, hits 4 decades this year, and it's calling on the nation to celebrate this milestone by supporting, advocating, and contributing more towards lupus awareness and those affected.
Process this. 6,000 Jamaicans are currently living with lupus. Board member of the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica, the LFJ, and Managing Director of the Development Bank of Jamaica, the DBJ, David Wan, brings that figure a little closer.
We all know St. Anne's Bay in Jamaica, right?
population is about 13,000. So think about almost half of the population of St. Anne's Bay having lupus. That's how you can relate to that 6,000 number. It's a big number.
And if that's not convincing enough, imagine the Catherine Hall Sports Complex in Montego Bay, St. James, which seats 7,000 almost at maximum capacity. And while you're at it, remember, they all have families, and so the impact balloons.
Throughout the world, 5 million people are affected by lupus. That's a big number. 90% of the adults with lupus are women. So it's overwhelmingly, and most of you know this, a disease that affects women mostly. 10% to 15% of persons who have lupus will die prematurely.
That should be an issue grave enough to garner national interest. Unfortunately, that was not the case in our population until just recently, when the Health Ministry, through the NHF, came on board as a partner. With a massive chunk of the affected adult warriors, as they are called, unable to work or have reduced income, direct survival is impeded. With our neighbours in developed USA spending $33,000 per year per person in direct healthcare costs, that's almost $5 million yearly, the equivalent. Well, one shot.
Stay with us for international news and Inspire Jamaica after the break.
Me, I go show them my way of justice.
I'm abused.
I need legal advice. I don't deserve this.
The truth of the matter is, justice there for all of it. The Ministry of Justice has trained more than 5,600 persons in restorative justice practices. More than 200,000 victims have been supported by the victim services. Legal aid has reached thousands island-wide. Make we talk it out, not fight it out. Call 888 Justice today.
It's now time for regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. In Trinidad and Tobago, National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines gave the assurance that 2 Coast Guard vessels which were under repair will be back in service by the end of this month. We hear more from TTT News.
In early September, the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard confirmed that the Cape-class vessels were out of service and dry docked at Stobbles Bay and were awaiting the necessary parts to undergo repairs. On Friday, Minister Hines said the maintenance and services of the vessels were critical.
In the absence of the damaged vessels and in the enthusiasm, properly so, on the part of the Defence Force to protect the borders of Trinidad and Tobago, those vessels were made to work a little more than they ordinarily would have worked. They normally would work a 7-day on, 7-day off routine, but in the absence of the damaged vessels, they were made to patrol a lot more and do stuff. So it transpired that based on the highly technical management of the equipment, they needed some attention. They are getting those.
He, however, assured that the continuous monitoring of the country's borders were not affected.
Protesters stormed the airport of the French Caribbean island of Martinique on Thursday, briefly forcing the facility to close. Martinique has been gripped by bouts of protest over the high cost of living, some of which have turned violent. That report from France 24.
Car dealerships burnt, clashes with security forces and barricades in flames. It was not possible to enforce the curfew in place in Martinique overnight Thursday to Friday. Protests against the high cost of living on the French Caribbean island have been taking place since early September. Protesters on Thursday ran onto the tarmac at the airport at Fort-de-France. They did so because of a rumour spread on social media about the imminent arrival of hundreds of French police officers by plane. They wanted to stop them landing. Local authorities denied the rumour. The airport was briefly closed. Passengers of cancelled flights had a chaotic night.
A lot of doors were broken downstairs. I saw security forces with handcuffed people and so on. There was a lot of commotion in all directions. We didn't really feel safe.
The protesters vow to continue.
And in international news, SpaceX successfully caught the first stage booster of its Starship mega rocket Sunday as it returned to the launch pad after a test flight, a world first in the company's quest for rapid reusability. These images from the Associated Press.
3, 2, 1.
There's both engines cut off.
Stage separation. Booster
stage separation. Hot stage separation confirmed.
Booster coming in hot for booster touch. Gonna ignite 13 of those Raptor engines. Landing burn. 13 ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor.
Sharing personal history sensitizes and creates awareness about concern about cancer globally. Now, when those affected are minors and able to share their stories, their behavior at times speaks for them, as do those closest to them. This week, Carolyn Brown shares more on a 3-year-old boy from Clarendon on Inspire Jamaica.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can.
Confucius is quoted as saying, "Music expresses that which cannot be said and on which it is impossible to be silent." There he was, a patient from Jamaica, a few years ago at the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital during one of his down phases. But that sound like joy, the therapy that positively impacts children like Josiah Lowen while battling cancer, saw him up again.
Going into St. Jude's, I would say that is a miracle in itself. That is a miracle in itself, because in the time when Josiah was actually accepted at St. Jude's, in that same period, a lot of parents were actually turned down from St. Jude's. So we were actually recommended by some of the doctors from Bustamante Hospital about St. Jude's, and they would have referred us to them, and they would have actually accepted Josiah based on the fact that he wasn't sick any at all, because at St. Jude's they wouldn't take a child if that child is in a state where that child is laying down, feeling sick, vomiting, too weak. Josiah, even through chemo, Josiah had a big heart. He was up and about until further down where chemo was kind of too much for him. But the happening for St. Jude's, it's just God's grace. That's all I can say. Well, today we rejoice. God continues to be good. He is cancer-free. He's in remission at this time, and we're just grateful. We're just thankful. He's doing really, really well. Without saying a word, you cannot say he has been a part of cancer at all, more than just the actual mark from surgery.
Nephrectomy and partial nephrectomy, that is the removal of one kidney and a part of the other kidney. He has been through radiation and chemo again. So he has really been through a rough journey.
Josiah, a certificate of courage to Josiah Lowen. And it says, "Your courage shines brighter than the sun, and your spirit is an inspiration to us all." Every challenge you faced has only made you stronger. Keep shining, for you are a true warrior of hope. And you are the father of a child who is a warrior of hope.
Yes, I am.
We could always go back, but we're going forward.
Indeed. I believe it's my duty as a father to support his mother, which is my wife, and to support him. And one of the things I understand is that when children are going through these things, they want a strong support system. And the strongest support system that one can find would be from both parents.
And when external forces combine for the love of helping others, bringing together for an extended weekend entire families with their children touched by the disease, it's a world of difference too.
The Moon Palace Foundation, as we see here today, is a source of hope. You know, amidst the challenges, amidst all that you would have faced based on the journey that you would have encountered with cancer, childhood cancer at that, the Moon Palace has played a very significant role in, you know, just giving you that situation where you can relax, where you can unwind and focus on healing.